The Tilta MB-12 Matte Box is probably one of the best matte boxes that you can get for the money. I bought the Tilta MB-12 Matte Box around a year ago, and I've used it quite a bit on a bunch of different jobs. This is going to be more of a review, but also more or less a testament on how good the value really is for what you get for this thing. But before we get into the Tilta MB-12, let's talk about why you would want or need a matte box. Matte boxes are used for usually three types of things. First, if you need to flag light off the lens. Usually this would be used for French flags, either a top flag or side flags. The second would be used to, well, add mattes. That's what it's called. It's a matte box. Yeah, and I know a lot of matte boxes these days don't even have that feature to add it, but yeah, it's a thing and it helps a lot. Because this is able to get a flare out of your lens if you cannot add a French flag, or if you just don't want the extra weight or awkwardness a French flag might have for this kind of setup. And the third reason is to add filters. And for me, this is the biggest kind of thing because I love my filters. I love diffusion filters. I love really good ND filters. And filters are a very important part when it comes to a DP's kit, especially if you want to be able to do something that adds something a little bit more to the image. Now, not all matte boxes are treated equally. There are different kinds of matte boxes that you could get depending on what you want for your camera setup. First off, you can have a rod matte box, and this is a matte box that clips to your rods. And then you have clamp-on matte boxes. These are matte boxes that are able to clamp onto the front diameter of the lens. And the Tilta MB-12 is a clip-on matte box, and it is primarily the reason that I got it because, one, I just like working with clip-ons, but also, the thing is that the value that you get from this is one that I have never seen before. So first of all, let's go over exactly what you get when you buy this thing. You get the matte box itself, and you get 3 stages. These are 4 by 5.65 inches, which are probably the most common filter that I work with at least, probably other people as well too. But wait, there's even more. You get a top flag, 15mm LWS support bracket, 4 backings. We have the 80mm on here, and we have a 95, a 114, and a 134, and a set of hard mats. That's a lot of stuff for $690. This is a pretty big deal for $690 because there's a lot of other stuff out there that's not really comparable to such a price point. For example, going onto a website like B&H, I could find a Bright Tangerine Misfit Kick 3-stage matte box with a single 114 clamp-on adapter with a top flag for $1,400. That is basically double the price of this, and that's only one backing with no hard mats. If you buy an additional backing, that's going to run you something around like $173 for anything additional. And the hard mat set is an additional $125 for it. So overall, you're going to be spending like $1,600, $1,700 plus for something like this. And I love Bright Tangerine. They make really good matte boxes. They make really good accessories. But the stuff you're able to still get away with this kind of value was just too good for me to not purchase myself. So it's a cheap price for a lot of stuff, but is it actually any good? So the matte box itself is made of a carbon fiber material, which means it's not that heavy, but it's kind of heavier than most kind of like lightweight clip-on matte boxes. But overall though, it's still like pretty solid, I guess. I unequivocally have dropped it multiple times before, and it actually has held up pretty well during these kind of things, which is good because in the field, I'd like to make sure that my gear does not randomly break on me. And the backing's probably the most important part about the clip-on matte box to actually clip it on. And they work! They're really solid. I myself can't really tell you what a bad backing would be or a bad clip-on would be until I try to latch it on and it doesn't actually latch. But I've even had this thing on a lens that was on a camera robot at certain points that was going at very fast speeds, and it has held on very nicely. But what about the stages? Are these stages any good? Yeah, they work. Again, I can't really tell you what a bad stage is that I guess can't actually clip onto a filter, but I've had no issues with these whatsoever. They're very solid. They don't add any play to a filter at all whatsoever. They don't leave any weird marks when it comes to filters. They do the job. So if you just need a glorified filter holder, then this really is a good choice for that, just for that one thing in general. But when we get down to some of the other details, there's things that are kind of, it could have some improvement. One of these things is the top flag, and it's one that's able to fold up really nicely when it comes to transport. Now, it's okay. As far as does it work as a top flag, yes, it absolutely does. And does the actual locking mechanism work if you want to keep the top flag in place? Yes, it absolutely does. But the thing that I find really annoying about this though is for transport. Because these corners don't really fold up, this actually makes the camera footprint a lot wider than I'd like it to be. So if I'm going to be throwing this in a camera coffin or a bag or somewhere else, this is always going to get kind of bended and flexed and pushed. I will say though, from the times that I've thrown this in a camera coffin and the sides have been adding this as a point of contact, it is held up very, very, very nicely. So I want to be able to make sure that this is able to stand up for those general tests. And I gotta say, this is held up very nicely for those tests. But what about if I want to, say, put this onto a rod bracket and I want to keep it onto 15mm rods? Well, this right over here is something that works. I really cannot tell you what a good rod bracket is for a matte box. I have used it. It has kept the matte box in place. The weight distribution is a little bit awkward, but I don't know any 15mm rod brackets that are underneath that is not awkward unless if you're doing a swing away bracket. But what about the hard mats? And well, you know what? They work. But no, these are garbage. Like, they work, but they are absolute garbage. Like, Jesus Christ, I have never worked with any more garbage hard mats in my entire life. Yes, these hard mats actually do work as hard mats. In fact, getting something over in the matte box and getting it into there to make sure you don't have flare, yeah, that is 100% fine. But I feel like I'm gonna break this thing every single time I add them into it. Technically, the hard mats are able to get in there with these 4 little ridges that are on each side, but I have to like force these in every single time with Jesus Christ. There we go. I feel like every time I put something into here, it just takes off a bit of the carbon fiber every single time. And I feel like that if anything is going to break over time, that it is going to be these hard mats. They feel very heavy as well, too. There's like no damn flex to them. Ow, that actually kind of hurt. But I mean, yeah, they do work in order to get light out of your lens if necessary. It's just, out of all the things that they cheaped out on, this is definitely one that Tilta cheaped out on the most. But as far as like a usable matte box though, like, this is great. Like, for $690, even if there are certain things such as these things, like, I gotta say, it's pretty damn good. But so if the value is really good, it does the job that it needs to do, how exactly does this compare to different matte boxes? So for this comparison, we're actually going to be comparing the Arri LMB, which is probably the most common lightweight matte box that I've ever used, basically. Now, the matte box itself of the Arri LMB is around $2,000 if you get an entire accessory kit with not only the mats, the top flag, side flag, rod bracket, all that other jazz. It's around like a $5,000 kit. So is it fair to compare a $690 Tilta MB-T12 Matte Box with all these accessories to the lightweight matte box? Probably not, but it's fun, so we're gonna do it. This really is a lightweight matte box. This thing like barely weighs anything right now as I just have this stripped off. So I don't currently have any backings over to here, but I can very easily I could very easily if I knew how to do this easily. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Yep, okay, this is gonna be a supercut of, yep. Oh. Okay, first try. But we could snap this back on really easily to make this a 114mm clamp-on. And like, again, like lightweight, yeah, this weighs like barely really anything. Like compared to the Tilta itself with weight, like when it comes to a camera, it actually could make a very big difference about how much weight you're actually putting on when it comes to the front. Now the Tilta MB-T12, you're pretty much stuck with these 3 stages when it comes to the back of here. So when we take the backing off, which is toolless, which I love, you can see what we have working with us over here. So this is able to show us the stages, but the stages itself are pretty much into this one fixed bracket over here. So you're always working with a extra weight of these said 3 stages. You can choose to take them out if you need less weight. And then you're like kind of in the same territory as the Arri with the only 2 stages, but it is still something to think about if you're really, really concerned about the weight. But in addition though, not only are you able to do the 2 stages very easily with the Arri, you're also able to add a 3rd stage if needed, or even a rotatable stage. And this is actually very, very nice if you can actually rotate it on the first try, which I have not. or a rotatable stage, which is really good if you're going to be working with something like a polarizer. Now, you could always just do something like get a rotopolar that fits right in one of the stage trays, but it's good to have, this is the wrong one, but it's good to still have something on standby if you say do not have something like this. My favorite feature though, and feature that I wish that every single matte box would have though, that's a clip-on would have, is a guard. Jesus Christ, this is just, the amount of times that I am scared of filters falling out is actually very little, but the fact that there is already a filter guard over here that I'm going to be putting on a camera is just like, can listen to that all day. It's also very fun to play with. The Tilta does not have this, which means it's a garbage matte box and I should have returned it a long time ago. So the Airy also has a top flag, like, well, all matte boxes should. However, it has these things over here that are able to make it a wider matte box at will. So being able to get these back down means that your camera is going to be a lot less wide, which means transport is going to be much better. But let's talk about something that's probably the biggest reason why the Tilta might not be for you, and that is side flags. Side flags in the pinch are just so damn useful, so damn good. And also, it's this kind of moment where if you put it on upside down, you are not going to properly flag that light off. Oh no. It even has left side flag on here. Having a good, convenient, and also very small side flag is just such a great thing to have, especially when it comes to the fact that you never know sometimes when you'd rather flag light off of your lens or have G&E flag things off. And because of that, I still am obligated to carry around this thing, which is way too big and bulky and makes a lot of noise in between shots. Oh, and you want to talk about something that is just not garbage? The mats, like, first of all, they hurt a lot less when you whack yourself with them, but also, though, they are just significantly easier to just put in the damn matte box with no struggle whatsoever. These things are very, very nicely put together, but also I feel like that I'm not going to be breaking these anytime soon, unlike a certain cheaper, heavier thing. So if you are, say, going to be using these as a assault on a PA or something like that, then go with the Tilta. They're gonna crack. Jesus. So overall, what did we learn? Well, I mean, the Airy LMB is probably an industry standard for a reason. It is able to allow you to configure things best when it comes to not only any kind of camera setup that you could think of, but also it is one that has features that you just want all matte boxes to have. And while the Tilta is a lot cheaper, I still feel, though, that for $690 for everything that you get for it is something that still makes it a really good matte box for what it is. A really good filter holder. If you're somebody who just really needs just filters or just proper filter stages, then I really don't know, like, how else you can justify not getting it for the price. Now, the other thing, though, is that will I bring this on to every job? Absolutely not. Because something like a filter guard and top flags are something that are just too good to pass up. And also ones that in certain situations, if it's very high stakes, or if I just always need to have that thing on the standby, that, yeah, the Airy is definitely going to do that. But for, say, jobs that are smaller, that are less high stakes, or ones where, again, I just really just want to have some filters, this is just amazing for all it goes to. And after a year with the fact that it has not broken yet, after all the use that I've given to it, I'm pretty confident that it's probably gonna maybe have another year, maybe 2 more years. We'll see after that, though. But Tilta, if you are listening, like, I would seriously pay the extra money if you were able to add side flags and a filter guard. This might just go from, like, a really damn good matte box to, like, one of the best matte boxes that's out there, period. My name is Neil Guliano, and this has been Kit Feed.